This is big breaking emergency news. The Biden administration has just activated the emergency stockpiles for the nation. All right, so this is big, and this is a warning that you need to activate your stockpiles as well. And you need to make sure that your stockpiles are in place and ready to go, ready to be used, up to date, and organized. Right? Because the country is slowly slipping into a very bad situation, right? And this sign that we are activating this emergency stockpile is a bad sign, right? Because it means things aren't going the way they're supposed to be going, right? And another thing is that if these stockpiles are completely drained and we have a major war breakout, then what are we going to do? All right, the situation's going to look bad. That's what these emergency stockpiles are for, is for a major war or a conflict, but they keep being drained and they keep being used, right? So it's happening again. And something to think about too is that maybe we're already in a war. Maybe we're already in the middle of some type of war. Maybe the next war is not going to look conventional like we're used to seeing. It could be on different fronts, right? It could be economic, it could be energy, it could be cyber, it could be lots of different things that could be a part of this war. Maybe we're already in the middle of it, and that's why they are activating these emergency stockpiles, right? So let's get into the details here really quick, guys. Please just hit it up for me down there. It helps to get these warnings out so people know what's going on in our country, right? So the Biden administration has just activated the strategic emergency petroleum reserves. And this is a further draining of the reserves, all right? We're having millions of more barrels being drained from the strategic oil reserves right now. This is happening for gasoline, right? Because there's actually a few different things that are in reserve, right? Different types of petroleum. And right now, gasoline is being released, or oil is being released for gas, all right? So this is what's happening right now. The reserves are already at their lowest levels ever. Lowest levels they've ever been, besides when they were empty and they weren't even filled up yet. All right, lowest levels ever. And this is a national security threat for our country as well, because if something breaks out, a major war, it seems like we're already on the edge of these things, or we're already in the middle of it. All right, there's a lot of developments every single day. And we're already in an economic war, 100% guaranteed, with all the sanctions, with all the challenges to the US dollar, right? Challenges to the SWIFT banking system. We're already in an economic war, guaranteed right now. And this is part of it, right? And we are not in a good position if something happens and our reserves are at all-time lows, where it's only going to last us a few days as a country if things actually break out, right? It's supposed to last us weeks. And at this point, and they're supposed to be able to, ration it, preserve it, use it mostly for the military and their equipment, all right? But we're at a point where we are getting into the territory where we only have days left of reserve in case of an emergency, right? So this is big. This is why you need to have gas tanks filled up. All right, your car tank, and I just filled up my tank. I let it get all the way down to almost empty, all the way down to the light was almost on. I normally never let it get that low because it's not really good, and it's not good for the engine, and just in case anything ever happens, you don't want to be stuck there on low. All right, but I was just doing a lot of driving recently, so I drained it almost all the way down, but I filled it up. Tanks are full. Gas tanks are filled. All right, water tanks are filled up. have these things ready to go, because they're saying that they're releasing millions of more barrels to lower prices, right? Because they're saying prices are going up right now, which does happen in summer, but they're saying that they are specifically releasing it right around 4th of July for the Northeast United States, right? So the Biden administration has decided to release millions of barrels to the Northeast states like New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, right? Massachusetts. These states are going to get the bulk of this strategic petroleum reserve release, and it's supposed to lower prices there. I don't know how this is even legal, or how this is a power where we can just drain our reserves just to lower gas prices. That's what we're saying here. That's admittedly what they're saying. And that's what they've done this whole time. They're just releasing millions and millions of barrels continuously to bring down gas prices, and I haven't even really seen that. And when this happened a few years ago, when they released hundreds of millions of barrels, right, there was almost 200 million barrels that was released. They, a massive percentage of it, it was like almost half of it, ended up going to China. China just bought it off the markets for super cheap, right? So what's going on here? What's really going on? Is this actually even going to bring down gas prices at all anyways? Or is this just some kind of funny business going on with the strategic reserves where they just give it away to certain people or certain companies? I don't know. Maybe something weird's going on in the background too from this, because it doesn't really seem to bring down gas prices, and you shouldn't be allowed to just release the emergency reserves to bring down gas prices anyways. It shouldn't even be a thing. How about we just produce more? The U.S. is the highest oil producing country on earth. And whenever you guys see me looking out here, I'm just looking at my chickens out here. I'm looking at my rooster Brock over here. He's going crazy. All right, that's what I'm looking at over here. I'm just watching my chickens. It's more entertaining to watch them than to just stare at myself on a screen here and look at myself. I'd rather not do that, because that's really I don't even look in the mirror most days. This is when I look at myself most days. So I'd rather just look at the chicks here, if you're ever wondering. But these things shouldn't even be allowed to happen, right? You shouldn't even be allowed to drain the strategic reserves, right? And it's like dipping into your emergency preps just to like eat some dinner or something. It doesn't make sense. That's your emergency preps. You need that in case it hits the fan, in case the power goes out, in case something happens. Supply chains are disrupted. You need those preps in case something happens, right? You don't want to just be eating your preps and eat half of your preps and then half of your preps are just gone. That stuff needs to stay untouched, right? And in reserve, right? So have your own strategic oil reserve as well. I'm about to get like a big gas tank that goes on the back of a truck. All right, you guys seen those before? I've been thinking about getting one of those. I don't know if I'm going to, but I've been thinking about it, all right? Especially with this news, just to have filled up just in case, It's like an extra big tank that you can put right in a truck bed. So you can just fill, and it's got a little nozzle on it, and you can just fill your truck up with this thing. You can fill it up with like 100 gallons of gas or whatever, and then you can just stop, pull over really quick, and fill your truck up. And some of them even, you can siphon them or hook them up right into your gas tank, right? But a lot of them just have nozzles on them that you can use to fill up your own tank. I'm about to get one of those and just keep it filled up, because we don't know. We don't know what could happen, especially if something big geopolitically happens. We've already seen these disconnects from the U.S. and Saudi Arabia with the petrodollar. This conflict with Iran and Israel is causing friction in the oil markets. This disruption of the Red Sea passage, right? All the major ships are diverting the Red Sea right now because they keep getting attacked from Yemen, right? So all these things are putting major pressure on oil prices right now. And the key is to just let America run loose. They keep shutting down these oil leases and drilling leases inside the U.S. that would give us hundreds of millions of barrels, billions of barrels of oil that the U.S. has just sitting there in reserve underground that we could tap into, right? And drill our way out of this. We could tap into so much wealth that we could probably pay off the national debt with how much, I don't know exactly, but the amount of wealth and oil that we have in the United States, we could really fund a lot of things, right? And get ourselves out of this and have 50-cent gas at the same time, right? So, and really, if they really wanted to, cause some pain, just strategically, geopolitically, if you really want to put pressure on these other countries that are trying to put pressure on the U.S., that's what you would do. You would collapse oil prices by just producing so much, make it so cheap here, because that's their entire economy. A lot of these countries that the U.S. is dealing with geopolitically, 90% of their economy is just oil prices. So if we just flooded the market, prices went down to $1 a gallon, then that would put more pressure on than any war or any bombs or anything like that, right, that we're currently dealing with. So it would be a win for America anyways, right? We'd have a ton of leverage geopolitically. I'm just thinking strategically here, right? And then it would be a win for the American people. Goods would be cheaper. Transportation on everything would be cheaper because diesel's going up. Everything's going up. When these prices go up, it means the stuff on your shelves are more expensive because it had to be transported there by a truck. And this truck's burning through gas like crazy, right? Hauling, especially if it's a heavy load, they're using a ton of diesel, right? Burning through it. Costs more money. The heavier the load, the more money in gas you're spending, right? That's just how it is with towing. So all these things cost more money when gas prices go up, and they would be cheaper too if gas prices were way down, right? Just something to think about. What do I know? I'm just some guy out here watching my chickens, reporting on what's going on. So thank you guys. Please hit it up for me down there to help get these warnings out so people know what's going on in our country, because we're in a very vulnerable position. Imagine if you had gas tanks, water tanks, all these things, preps, ready to go, and then you just dumped it all out. You just dumped all your gas, dumped all your water, got rid of all your food. You're vulnerable. If an emergency happens, if something pops off, the power goes out, anything, right? It could be as simple as just a hurricane. We're seeing this Cat 5 hurricane, or almost Cat 5, right south of the U.S. right now in Texas, right? It's hitting the Caribbean and about to hit Mexico. So it could be anything. It could just be a major storm like that, knocks the power out, but then you're vulnerable. You don't have gas. You can't run your generator. If someone just came and dumped, you don't have water. The tap's not turning on because the power's not on for the pumps. All right, so you're vulnerable if somebody just came and dumped all your preps, your reserves, and that's what's happening with the country. It's just being dumped, all of our reserves, and it makes us extremely vulnerable, especially if a major war or something like that pops off. All right, so thank you guys. I hope you have big blessings for your life, your family, your homestead. I hope you're getting prepped and ready, all right, because it's time to go. It's time to shine, all right? Thank you guys, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.